Hi everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. I want to share with you something that someone said to me yesterday. It kind of is going to feel proverby, but the person who said it I think is still living. And I'm sure some of you have heard it. I had never heard it, or maybe it made an impact on me the way I heard it was. So here's what I'm going to say it to you, and let's take it apart. You have to meet people where they are, and sometimes you have to leave them there. When the person who said this, I was like, oh, okay. So now I was trying to figure out who this is credited to. The best I was able to determine is someone named Iyanla Vanzant, who is an author and a speaker and a lawyer. I hope I'm crediting that properly. Whoever said it, again, I heard someone say it yesterday. I was giving a presentation. And when they said it, I sort of paused because I was like, ooh, well, this not only really applies to narcissists, but really, really applies to enablers. And I didn't know where this Iyanla Vanzant person, where they're going with it, but, where else am I going to take it? I'm going to take it to the world of narcissism because I thought this particular sort of statement had a lot of bearing there. When that person said it yesterday, we were talking to a group about toxic workplaces. But there was something more about this statement. So to me, meeting people where they are means that you kind of recognize them, their strengths, their limitations, all of it. I think that the greatest source of heartbreak for people is waiting for them to meet us where we are at. And entire lifetimes can get wasted on that, especially if you're dealing with toxic or narcissistic family, friends, or just people in general. They may expect you to meet them where they are, but they do not expect that they're going to return the same courtesy to you. To me, this statement of meeting someone where they are, it rings of empathy, right? Empathy does mean we can see another person's point of view. We may not always agree with it, but we can try and understand it. Though I think that empathy more classically often extends to emotion. And we can and we should meet people at their emotion. I absolutely can get down with that, right? But the wisdom in this statement is that it instructs us to set a boundary. And more importantly, it almost gives us a sense of like, you need to get the hell out of Dodge sort of thing. So let's take this statement and apply it to narcissistic folks. Interestingly, where things in narcissistic relationships get confusing is that they, the narcissists, in the love bombing phase, they actually often really do attempt to meet us where we are at. It's temporary, but they do. It's very seductive, as many of us know. But as things shapeshift, and they always do in these relationships, and especially once the relationship cycles into the devaluing phase, we actually quickly try to keep up and meet them where they are. That's when things get messy, because that's when we hope they will change and they will see us and they will recognize us and be there and stop devaluing us and do all the things that people fantasize about when they're in narcissistic relationships. The difficulty is that when we keep meeting them where they are at and they aren't budging, and we keep trying to stay in that place where they are and using her maxim, that piece that people most forget is that then, if they ain't budging, we need to leave them there. Because if we stay there with them, it's going to be devalue city for us. But where this statement to me had its real muscle is around the enablers. Because remember, in a large proportion of cases, the enablers are actually not toxic people themselves, but they're naive, they're foolish, they're self-serving, but they're not full frontal toxic. They will say enable-y things like he isn't that bad, or they mean well, or give it a chance. And you try and meet the enablers where they are. You, as unfortunately too many survivors of narcissistic abuse are likely too empathic for your own good. So you meet them where they are at, and now you find yourself kind of going double time on justifying and rationalizing and blaming yourself and wondering if you are the one who's being too difficult. So the challenge here with the enablers is that you met them where they are, but the more you keep doing that, the more you're going to destroy yourself. I have to say that some people do a bigger number on themselves in narcissistic relationships because of the enabling. Because they look to the enablers to be their friends and supporters, and the enablers are throwing you back in the fire. I think meeting people where they are isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think it's a leap of faith, and I think it's a decent place to start. However, the key to surviving a toxic world is to learn when to leave them there. And the main reason for that is so that you don't end up there yourself. The longer we stay in proximity to toxic folks and toxic situations and enabling talk, the more likely we are to get sick, blame ourselves, and heaven forbid, to actually get indoctrinated into their way of thinking and being. And it can also help survivors to think about the idea of leaving them there. The number of folks I see who have destroyed themselves in these relationships because they thought they could rescue these folks or rehabilitate them or bring them over to the empathy and the light, that's a lot of people. This nonsense is buoyed by religious chatter around forgiveness and new age bunk about redemption. Maybe to all the folks who are struggling with forgiveness, which I don't recommend, or even trying to rehabilitate them, which isn't going to work, instead of viewing it as you are giving up on the narcissistic person or even the enabling person, or that you're abandoning them, maybe you can just view it as leaving them where they are at. Because they seem pretty damn content there. They just want all of us to come where they are instead of ever meeting us. It's not your responsibility to move them from that place. It's theirs. And frankly, they may not want to leave. So meet them where they are, assess the situation, and if they ain't budging, leave them in their mess. So I'm sure some of you have heard this statement, and I know I have in the past, but yesterday it made such a profound impact, which is meet people where they are and leave them where they're at. Because I think that we spend too much time trying to get people out of that spot. There's no point. So much of life is taking chances, but also cutting our losses. Thanks again.